Howdy, howdy. Welcome on in to the pre-show before the free show.
Hi, we're
Hello.
on YouTube and Twitch today. Is that right?
Yeah, Zuckerberger's still out to get us, so
Did you call him Zuckerberger? It's probably because you called him Zuckerberger.
I didn't call him Burger.
Let's roll back the tape. Run it back.
No,
Rewind it.
that doesn't work that way.
It might. Hello. Welcome on into the pre-show before the free show. I'm your host, Greg Tupper. That's my co-host, Ashley Pickle. Pickle, you were in Munster on Friday.
I was. It was awesome.
Now, had you ever been to the bustling metropolis of
I
Munster,
had not.
Texas?
Ish and I did sit in the swag wagon for a while looking up a bunch of stuff on Munster, like how populated it was. It's only, if memory serves me correct, I think the entire town is only 2.63 square miles.
2.65. You nailed it.
Ah, close.
Tiny.
Big German population, obviously, which
1544 was their last census.
Yep. And
So,
that was in 2019.
Now you've mentioned before that you studied abroad in Paris at one point. Is that right?
I did.
You studied abroad.
London
and Paris.
I was in London.
London.
Studying
Okay.
at the University of London.
So you
but
studied in London.
Yes.
Okay. I would like you to spend the next couple of minutes comparing and contrasting Munster, Texas, and London, England.
I mean, they're the same.
Yeah.
There's no difference.
It's the same picture.
Like, yeah, if my boss asked me to look at a picture of this and this, they're the same picture.
Yeah.
There's no different.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I felt that same way when I went to Munster.
Yeah.
You know.
No, and this is big month in Munster because Oktoberfest.
Ah, yes.
So I'm pretty sure. I think we tried to look up like if their little shindig was going on, but I'm not sure if it was.
Let's see. According to the Munster Chamber of Commerce, munsterchamber.com. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, no. They've got a big Oktoberfest. There's German. Well, here's the thing. If you want to come for German Fest or you want to come for Oktoberfest,
Oh, okay.
Those are two different things. Let me tell you, Oktoberfest happens rain or shine. It happened on October 2nd.
Okay. Yeah, it was early on. That's right.
So you missed that. You know how I know that, actually? My parents have run in that. They have like a 5K.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they might, they have to do a half marathon too. It's called the worst race.
Mm-hmm.
Because running is the worst. And yeah, so and my parents, and at the end you get a cup with, you'll never believe it, but some liquid in it.
Yeah.
So I know that. They also have apparently here, I'm reading directly off the munsterchamber.com website, they have wiener dog races.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, most Oktoberfests do. I know the one in Denton is real big. They always do that. But the reason that we got on the conversation of like wanting to look more into Munster is we were like, okay, that's definitely like, why is it spelt this way? And so we looked up, and obviously we found out about the German like heritage and everything that went
Bunch of German
into
Catholics
that.
who are rolling in.
And we were like, well, that's weird. I wonder if it's just kind of been Americanized, like if Munster like it should be like, the U's in German usually have, I don't know what the technical term is, like the 2 dots over it. And so we were talking about that, and we realized that Munster is actually the word for chapel in Germany.
Mm-hmm.
So we figured that out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No.
We spent a lot of time learning about it, the town.
that is a strange thing about Texas. And I think that is something that outsiders probably think of. I'm always interested in getting outsiders' opinion of what they think Texas is about. Like the culture of Texas.
Riding your horses to school.
Everyone rides their horse to school. They all have spurs.
10-gallon hats.
They all wear 10-gallon hats, et cetera, et cetera. Like, I live in the suburbs.
Yeah,
you live in, like, a nice apartment.
Yeah.
But what I think is even more interesting than that, even more interesting than the wrong opinions of people who are who think that Texas is just, like, a bunch of, as you would say, yee-yees.
Yes.
Instead, what I think is interesting is that you have these little pockets around the state of like different cultures.
Yeah,
like you've got Polish towns and German towns.
And like the Tungan population
Yes.
in Trinity, or like Fredericksburg is another big German town.
Yeah,
you've
got all these little like there's I mean, you go to West. The reason that West has like all those kolaches is
all the
because it's all
Czechs. Yeah,
You know
my
what I mean?
people.
Yeah, and so it's like I think that's interesting and just something that I found like as I grew to learn about Texas more broadly and kind of dive in really through the avenue of high school football is all of these little areas have their own little cultural identification.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, the big cities are melting pots. Like Dallas and Houston, I mean they're not the same. I'm certainly not suggesting they're the same. But like those are in a lot of ways just kind of like other big cities. You know what I mean? Like they're kind of like Kansas City, and they're kind of like Memphis. You know what I mean?
Right.
They're kind of like Atlanta, right? In obviously different, but do you know what I mean? What I'm saying is these smaller communities are where you get these like little pockets of
like true authentic
culture.
ethnicity. Yeah.
Exactly. It's a strange thing, but I'm glad you got to experience it out there in Munster, Texas.
Yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. We had a great time. Ish will probably tell you otherwise because he had to spend like 2 full nights with me, but it was great.
How many autographs did you get asked for?
None.
Come on, Munster. You got no job.
There was one guy that came up and he shook Ish and I's hand and he was like, "I know who you are," and Ish lost it. Like he lost his mind. Ah! And I was like, "Stop! You need to stop."
Your television zone, Ashley.
Yeah.
All right, they have the theme expo. Let's go! Free money! Yes, yo! From the Dave Campbell's Texas Football Mothership here in beautiful Lewisville, Texas, it is Texas Football Today, a show on the internet machine tubes. My name's Greg Tepper. I'm the managing editor of Dave Campbell's Texas Football, a magazine, texasfootball.com, a corresponding website. Thank you for spending part of your day with us. Whether you're watching us live on texasfootball.com, on Facebook. No, that's not true.
Nope.
Zuckerberg. TexasFootball.com, YouTube, or Twitch. Always liked those better anyway.
Yeah, me too. Legitimately.
Or you listen to us on the podcast, which you can subscribe to on the podcast vendor of your choice. Either way, thank you for doing your part to support your local mediocre internet show. I'm sitting over there at the helm today, making us sound good. She's the Duchess of the Dorks. She's Ashley Pickle. Hi, Ashley.
Oh, why are you laughing at me already?
This is not fair to you, and I recognize that. I want to be very clear from the outset. This is not fair to you.
I'm about to get burned, aren't I?
No, it's not. It's not that. So I've been listening to a podcast. It's really good. It's really good.
Is this your crime one you tweeted about? Okay.
It's called Your Own Backyard.
Okay.
And it is about in 1996, I want to say, at Cal Poly, there was a girl named Kristen Smart who disappeared. Like, she just disappeared.
Okay.
They think they have a suspect. I'm not over with stuff like that. Anyway.
I don't know where this is going.
All I'm saying is that the only way that they've ever described her is, like, tall and blonde. And then I looked over at you and I was like,
I found her! She's right here!
I've been listening about her the whole weekend! Yeah.
I wasn't even alive in 96, so don't worry.
It's
not me.
You don't got to rub it in. Today is Monday, October 18th, 2021. 38 days till Thanksgiving. Happy birthday.
Oh, gosh. Okay. Big birthday.
To you, and happy 40th birthday.
Oh.
To you and I's mutual colleague. This is
Okay.
true. Birthday to David Murphy.
Hey, there you go. Happy birthday, Murph.
Episode 1263.
Over the hill today.
Let me go through this, and then I'll give you a very quick David Murphy story.
Okay.
On today's show, guys, we got Monday Morning Fallout, overreacting the football weekend. We will be joined by the head coach of the Houston Westside Wolves. Coach Jomaul Mason will join us. They had a big win last week over Houston Heights. We're going to talk about it. They are heading into the big one with Houston Lamar and an opportunity to make a little bit of history. We'll talk about that. And then back half the show, we will unveil this week's Dave Campbell's Texas Football Associated Press high school football rankings exclusively live here on Texas Football Today. Do we have first four through the door?
We sure do. It was Chase Burnett, Josh Chappa, Tony Blaylock, and Ryan Smiga. Welcome in,
You move over to
fellas.
YouTube, you get a little bit of
a little flux there.
An extremely quick David Murphy story.
Okay.
So, as you know, I'm a giant Rangers fan.
Yes.
And so there was a little bit of crossover. There's always a little bit of overlap from the end of Rangers season to the beginning of
high school
football season. And so it was like Rangers were playing a night game in Oakland and stuff, and of course we have the Friday night stuff. And so I went over to
the other studio,
the studio, and it was Rick Renner was there. He was doing Rangers. Might have been Dana Larson, whoever. And then it was like Mark McLemore, who I've met before. And then it was also David Murphy, who had just, I believe, started doing Ranger stuff.
Yes.
Like
he started when I was interning.
Like
2019.
2019, yeah. He started pretty early. Anyway, all that's to say, I went over to David Murphy. I went over and, introduced myself. And I said, hey, I'm one of the high school football guys. And I said, I just got to tell you, you are my mom's all-time favorite Ranger. And he looked at me, he goes, I get that a lot.
Big mom energy.
Do you know what it is? It's because he's a nice guy. He's a Baylor boy. He's very clean cut.
He's who you take home to meet your mom type
nice,
of guy.
Handsome guy, and he's always extremely polite in interviews and stuff like that. You never hear anything bad about David Murphy.
No.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, happy birthday, David Murphy.
Happy birthday, Murph.
Pickle, hit the arrow sign. It's time for Monday Morning Fallout. Monday Morning Fallout, of course, when we overreact to the football weekend, and what an overreaction weekend it is. Let's start with my 3 big thoughts. Thought number 1, do it with defense. I think this happens every year, and maybe somebody can go back and just listen to the previous 5 iterations of this week in Monday Morning Fallout and see if I just say this every week. Every time.
Pull up the receipts.
This time of year, it really feels like this is when defenses starts taking center stage.
Yes.
I think in the early part of the season, that you see offenses, and we kind of go gaga over the offensive numbers. Now, when you start talking about contenders, we start focusing on the teams with defense, which is strange, right? Because we normally say that offenses are the teams that are the units that take a little bit of time, a little bit of seasoning to get going. And yet, one thing I was struck by this week was just how many teams won big-time games with defense. You were at one of them.
Yes.
You were at Munster and Windthorst. Munster wins 16-8. And a really dominating defensive performance that Windthorst got 2 points off of safety. And then basically Munster got 2 touchdown runs from Colton Deckard.
Well, it was one large explosive play that won the game. That was it.
It was like that 83-yard run.
That was it.
And that's it. That's it. Everything else was
the other thing. That game
nip and tuck.
Went by super quick, so every possession legitimately mattered when it came to the defense.
Right. So they end up getting a huge win. Munster gets a huge win over Munster, or Windthorst rather. And they do it.
They did not beat themselves.
They do it on defense. Right? Let's talk about another big game. Frisco and Denison. Frisco beats Denison 28-14, slowing down one of the more explosive running attacks in the state with what? Defense. The game we were watching on our watch-along. Vandergrift and Cedar Ridge. Cedar Ridge, Vandergrift completely snuffed out Cedar Ridge's attack. And really, that game was, they scored with what? In the fourth quarter.
Yes.
It was 28-0 or 35-0 or something like that, and then they scored in the fourth quarter.
Yep. That's like as
a little
soon
bit
as
of
it
window
started.
dressing,
Yep.
Right? What about Side Park and Bridgeland?
Yeah.
Okay? As much as we go gaga over Side Park's offense, which is fun, kind of a wing tee, they throw the ball a lot out of it, blah, 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 blah. The defense is what ended up winning that game. And I know Connor Wigman didn't play in that game, but I don't know if it would have mattered. I think the Side Park defense was doing it. Ryder and Lubbock Cooper did. 2 outstanding defenses going at it. In the end, Cooper's able to make a couple of extra stops and win the game. Those, to me, that is, to me, the separation of true contenders right now. And that is one thing that I think I'm focusing on right now is whose defense is starting to play at that championship caliber.
Well, and we always say, too, defense travels.
Absolutely.
Defense is able to travel, and when you start getting into these weeks of the season and, you don't have that necessarily, electrifying playoff rush every time you walk out there, so it's kind of like that mid-season drag of going, okay, a couple more weeks here, let's get it done, and that's what defenses do.
Right. So, my first big thought is do it with defense. Second big thought. Different ends of the G5 spectrum.
Boy, howdy, is this accurate.
I think, as far as group of 5 teams in the state of Texas are concerned, you really have the haves and the have-nots, and there's not a whole lot of middle right now. Here are the teams, so there are 7 teams in 7 group of 5 teams in the state of Texas, right? Houston, they were idle, but they have that one loss in the year and have looked great ever since, right? SMU, undefeated. They were idle, no notes for them. UTSA, big win over Rice, dominating victory, undefeated, 7-0, and now ranked.
How about that?
The nationally ranked UTSA Roadrunners. Meep, meep. And UTEP, who is so used to being on the other part of this conversation, UTEP, I wish you'd pull the clip. I said on Friday, I called him. I said, they're going to win. They're going to beat Louisiana Tech. And sure enough, they do. They were absolutely outstanding. And the UTEP Miners are 6-1. They're bowl eligible, right? So you got those 3. Or those 4, rather. And then you've got the other 3, and they're in G5 hell, is what they are. Rice loses to UTSA. Now, Rice is obviously a different situation, and that's always going to be a build, and I think that says more about how good UTSA is than it says about Rice.
But they also got shut out.
But at the end of the day, you are what your record says you are, and they are not very good right now. And Coach Bloomgren's got to do something to turn that thing around. Texas State in a game they could have had against Troy.
Yep.
And they have not been able to finish, and I think there's no way to describe what's going on down there in San Marcos aside from calling it disappointing. And there's North Texas.
God.
And this
we could not believe
Friday
when we
night.
looked at halftime and it was 42-7.
This was Friday night. It is really pretty astonishing how quickly that program has gone from like Conference USA contender, like a team we were talking about in the same way that we talk about UTSA right now, in the sense of like, man, they're fun. Like, rank North Texas.
Yeah.
Like they're fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah, at
like,
least throw them 25 or 24.
Yeah, get some also receiving votes, right? Stuff like that. To now, genuinely
awful.
The worst team in Texas?
Yeah.
The worst FBS team in Texas?
I mean, it's a head-to-head with Rice.
We'll see what happens when they play Rice. And Texas State, certainly, they're not going to play Texas State, but that's certainly in that conversation. But the downfall has been swift, and I just don't see how Seth Luttrell survives it.
No, you can't blame this on losing Mason Fine either. Like the one player not make for a torrential downfall.
Let's put it this way. If it was all hinging on one player, that is even more damning.
Yes.
About what's going on up there.
Absolutely.
And I don't think, is Ren Baker still the AD?
He is.
I don't think Ren Baker is going to fire Seth Luttrell in the middle of the season.
No.
The last coach they did fire in the middle of the season.
Yep. It was after a loss to Portland State.
Dan McCarney, when they got beat by 60 by Portland State at home. But this is not that, but I can't see how when Black Monday comes, his name will be on it.
Yep, absolutely.
I can't see.
Well, and I just don't. If you go up against a team that is like obviously Marshall's in the upper echelon of Conference USA teams, but if you go up against a Rice or a Southern Miss and you are down 42-7, he might get called at that point. But
Okay, yes.
I think he makes it to the end of the season, but
I hear what you're saying.
There is a thing that could happen.
I hear what you're saying, but Marshall's not that good.
No, they're not.
Anyway, there's 3 big thoughts. Or I'm sorry. Thought number 3. That was thought number 2. I got
Reel it back.
Thought number 2, stretch run.
3. Thought number 3.
Thought number 3, stretch run. Come on, coffee. Work. Pickle, I don't know if you realize this.
Okay.
Right here, right now, where we're sitting, in this moment, at this spot in the space-time continuum.
Okay.
We're at the exact midway point of the Texas high school football season.
You are exactly right. We're heading into week 9.
We are
through 8 weeks.
We are as close to week 1 as we are to state championships at AT&T Stadium. And so now we have 3 weeks to decide everything. Who's getting in to set the brackets? We have a pretty good idea of a number of teams that are going. I think Allen's probably going to make the playoffs.
You know what? Hot take. Hot take alert.
They may have already clinched, actually.
I think they did.
They may have. Or they may need, like, one of the teams that's like winless in district to lose one more game or something. Anyway, neither here nor there. They functionally clinched. But what's going to be interesting now is that we are going to you may find us focusing on games that maybe are off your radar a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Those 3-4 seeds.
Because we're talking about 3 seeds, we're talking about 4 seeds, we're talking about games that are going to end up shaping the bracket on the fringes, right? Mm-hmm. We have a pretty good idea of where Carthage is going to be, right? Well, what I'm interested in is who's the 4th seed out of District 10. Mm-hmm. Those are the things we're going to be focusing on. And so as a result, this stretch run here is going to be a lot of filling in those outer gaps.
Which is funny because, like, even scheduling videographers, I've had some guys suggest, like, oh, what about this top game? And I'm like, but they're going to beat them by 50. Let's send you to a little bit lower of a game. Right. So that way we can see who wins that and know who's getting in the playoffs.
Exactly right. So those are my 3 big thoughts. 3 helmet stickers. A helmet sticker for Crosby quarterback Ciaran Miles. If you buried Crosby a while ago, like I get it. They lost their first 2 games to Manville and to Manville and to Carthage. But they figured it out, and Ciaran Miles went nuts. 237, 3 touchdowns passing, 70 yards, and 2 touchdowns rushing. He was a monster for them. They figured it out. It's a helmet sticker for Ciaran Miles. A helmet sticker for the UTEP defense. I watched almost all of this game, okay? Because I'm a sicko. Mm-hmm. I'm a sicko. Guys, UTEP's defense is, like, genuinely good.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a fluke.
No.
It's not that they're playing bad teams. Their defense makes plays.
Yeah.
They swarm.
They've got good size on them, too.
Their defense is not just like...
This UTEP team is not a fluke in general.
You can't fluke your way to bowl eligibility.
No. Not after only playing 7 games, too. You know, like, that's not a fluke.
Anyway, helmet sticker, UTEP defense, bowl eligible minors.
Yeehaw.
Picks up. Send me that shirt, Coach Neely. And a helmet sticker to Tyler athlete Derek McFall. 3 carries, 68 yards, and 2 touchdowns rushing. He had a 16-yard catch and an 84-yard kickoff return for a touchdown for Cujo, for Derek McFall, the Tyler athlete. A helmet sticker for him. 3 teams to watch. Not sure if you're paying a ton of attention to what's going on with Deer Park. But Deer Park, I would like to turn your attention to...
They beat Dobie?
To what's going on there. They beat Dobie last week. And they get a big win over Dobie. They had 2 losses in the middle, right before district play started, to Clear Falls and to Beaumont Westbrook. Mm-hmm. But they have figured it out since then. They're 4-0 in district. I think they won the district by beating Dobie last week, and they beat them soundly, 49-28. Keep an eye on Austin Flynn's Deer Park. Whoosh, 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 coach. So keep an eye on them. Howard Payne. I'm supposed to say this for my friends. Sting 'em.
Yeah. The Yellow Jackets.
Howard Payne is now 6-0. They have clinched their first winning season since like 2003. What did I have this?
To think about.
I tweeted this. I'll make sure I quote myself here. 6-0, clinched their first winning season since 2005. Their coach is Jason Bachtel. He was the offensive coordinator. Get this. This is wild. He was the offensive coordinator for Argyle last year. So the 2020 state champion Argyle Eagles. He was their offensive coordinator. He then leaves to go to Howard Payne. This is his 2nd season coaching Howard Payne.
Wow.
Think about it. He has now coached 3 seasons in like less than a year, basically.
That's wild.
But he's got Howard Payne 6-0, first winning season since 2005. Sting him. And finally, Odom. I was trying to think of who's the least talked about undefeated team in the state.
Yeah.
There are not a lot of 8-0 teams, guys. Mm-hmm. Odom's one of them. Okay. They body Monte Alto. They were much better. They're much better than Monte Alto. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about what they've done before then. Mm-hmm. They beat Taft. They beat Banchetti. They're going to win that district. I mean, they've got a. Well, let me hold off on that. They got a big game at the end of the year, Week 10 against Hebronville. That's for the district championship. Mm-hmm. But Odom, Armando Huerta Jr. is doing an unbelievable job with the Owls. Keep an eye on Odom. If you haven't paid attention to what they're doing, they've got something cooking. 3 to see. Frisco and Lovejoy is a game we've been waiting for a while, ever since we thought Lovejoy was going to be pretty good. Frisco made it pretty apparent about 3 weeks in that they were going to be a force to be reckoned with. One of only 3 battles of unbeatens this year or this week, along with there's a big private school game. Episcopal School of Dallas plays Houston, someone. Houston St. Thomas, maybe. I don't know. There's that. And then Abernathy plays Lubbock Roosevelt. But Frisco and Lovejoy is the game of the week, I think, in high school football. West Virginia and TCU. It's a weird slate of college football this week. Yeah. There's not a huge number. There's not a bunch of huge games. But this is a real important game, I think, for TCU to get back on track against an offense that can't do much and get that defense going. And finally, El Dorado and Cristobal. This game's awesome. I'm really excited about this one. Corbin Covarrubias is one of my favorite players in the state at El Dorado. He's going to get really tested against his Cristobal defense. So, those are 3 to see. That is Monday Morning Fallout. We are Texas Football Today. We're here every weekday at noon on TexasFootball.com, talking football in the Lone Star State. You can follow us on Twitter at DCTF, like us on Facebook, Facebook.com/Dave Campbell's. Follow us on Instagram, Instagram.com/Dave Campbell's, and of course, see us at TexasFootball.com. Pickle! Dave Campbell's Texas Football, in partnership with Ozarka, is proud to honor one team from each classification with the Ozarka Fueled by Nature Team of the Week Award. The teams selected throughout the course of this program have exemplified the best in Texas high school football. Your Week 8. Gotta keep doing that.
Yes.
Week 8. Ozarka Fueled by Nature Teams of the Week. In 6A, San Antonio East Central. Caden Bosanko hit Jack Stewart for a go-ahead 42-yard touchdown pass with 2 seconds remaining as the Hornets stunned district rival Converse Judson 30-28, knocking off the Rockets for the first time since 1982.
Wow.
Were you born then?
No.
Me neither.
Neither were you.
In 5A, Aledo. The Bearcats' district dominance at a new level on Friday, defeating Mansfield Timberview 35-21 for their 100th consecutive district victory, the longest streak in Texas high school football history. Wow. Unbelievable. In 4A, Houston Fur. The Bramos put together a fourth-quarter rally to surge past Houston Yates 27-19, moving to 6-1 on the year and clinching a playoff spot out of District 11 4A Division 1. In 3A, Stanton, the Buffaloes sprung the upset on longtime rival Coahoma, taking down the Bulldogs 30-17 for their first victory in the rivalry in 6 years. In 2A, Munster, in one of the most hotly anticipated games in the state, Colton Deckard ran for a pair of touchdowns, and the Hornets defense squashed Windthorst's attack to beat the defending 2A Division II state champs 16-8. In 1A, Medina. In a critical district opener in District 1, 16-1A Division 1, the Bobcats went toe-to-toe with favored Lakey and came away with a 60-56 upset win. And in the private school ranks, Brian Brazos Christian. Levi Hancock accounted for 238 total yards and a pair of scores, and the Eagles' defense stood tall in a dominating 48-0 win over Tomball Rose Hill Christian. So those are your Week 8 Week 8 Ozarka Fueled by Nature Teams of the Week. Congratulations to all the schools. We salute you. For more information, visit TexasFootball.com. Pickle, let's go to the hotline. Oh, wait. We have one more thing to do, don't we? And now a word from our sponsor.
From Now On is a proud sponsor of Dave Campbell's Texas Football and your school's one-stop shop for community connection. Simplify your athletic communications with From Now On. Their FanX platform gives schools at all levels of the game a one-stop shop mobile experience that makes driving communication, creating engagement, and generating revenue easy. From Now On helps connect your school community with everything they need to win on game day. Schedules, streams, digital tickets, real-time notifications, and more. Learn more by visiting their website at from-now-on.com or follow them on Twitter or Instagram at FromNow.
Pickle, let's go to the hotline. And let's bring in the head coach of the 4-1 Houston Westside Wolves. We're joined by Coach Jomaul Mason. Coach, how are you?
I'm doing well, and yourself?
I'm doing great. How are things in beautiful Houston, Texas?
They were good this morning. Trying to get back focused and ready to play this week, but things are looking up on the west side of Houston.
I'll say, and especially last week, taking on a Heights team that is considered one of the front runners there in your district. You guys are able to go and get a resounding 41-19 win over the Bulldogs. I'm interested going into that game, and I know coaches say that you treat every game the same, but that was obviously pretty critical in the district 18 6A race. What did you tell your guys before that game, and how do you think they executed it?
Same message I've been preaching since June. Honestly, we just kind of stayed the course. Preparation precedes performance, and if we prepare the right way, I believe we have a chance in nearly every game that we play. And the way that we prepare is we come to practice with great energy, effort, and focus. And if we do those things, then the winning portion kind of takes care of itself.
I'm interested in talking a little bit about your defense, which has really, I think, it feels like it's grown over the course of the season. This was a defense that I know you had high hopes for coming into the year. Do you feel like you have seen those steps from your defense that you were hoping that you would see?
Absolutely. Our defense has responded to every challenge, or we've thrown a lot at them. I mean, the Neal kid, we had to have a plan going into place for that kid because he's a dynamic athlete. The quarterback is an excellent young man that can do it with his legs and his arms. So the growth of our defense and minimizing their production throughout the game was vital to our success. But I've seen our defense grow and grow and grow. And the thing about it is, we don't even have a senior on the defensive line. All those kids are juniors and sophomores. So really, really excited about the play of our defensive line.
Speaking, we're talking with Jomaul Mason, the head coach of the Houston Westside Wolves here on Texas Football Today. Get involved in the conversation at #TF Today. Coach, I know one of the questions that you guys had coming into the season was on the other side of the trenches, up front on the offensive line. You've got a big-time playmaker, a guy who I know a lot of recruitniks know about and Nonso Amazi, but when you take a look at the way that your offensive line has played so far this season, I know that was a concern coming into the season. How do you think that they have come together over the course of these first 5 games?
Well, I just finished grading tape this weekend over those guys, so we always have some things to work on, but their progress and knowing where to go and what to do when they get there is continuing to get better. We still have a long way to go before I can say that being a former offensive lineman, we have a long way to go before I can say that we're like really good up front, but the progress, we're headed in the right direction. And then, we have the fixer back there. I mean, he fixes a lot of our mistakes in Jabari Kirkendall. And, once Paul stepped the wrong way and he's out the gate. So he helps us up front a lot, and I know we help him as well. So it's kind of, works well together, but those guys know their assignments. They're going to the right spots. They're trying to do it the right way. And then when they do make a mistake, we have a back that can fix those mistakes pretty quick.
You see, Ashley, what you got to do in an interview like this is make the subject comfortable. And so he's a former offensive lineman at Beaumont Westbrook, former offensive lineman at Texas State. So what you got to do, let him talk about his offensive line. He's going to get excited about it. You know what I mean? Everyone wants to talk about quarterback stuff. Let's talk about those big boys up front. That's who's winning these ball games. But I don't want to overlook the play of your quarterback, Thaddeus Watson, a guy that I know you had high hopes that he would help take you guys to the next level. And he's put up some strong numbers this year. It looks like he's taking care of the football and doing the things you need from your quarterback. I can look at the numbers and I can tell you that this kid's pretty good. But tell us about your quarterback Thaddeus Watson and what he does for your team.
Well, it starts with the off the field stuff. Thad's a 4.0 plus student. He's a worker. He has a great work ethic, and he builds relationships with his teammates. So it's easy for Thad to lead our team because he does a lot of the things that we're asking him to do the right way, especially when no one's looking. So, he does a lot of great things on the field. He's a very talented kid with a big arm, and he knows when to tuck and run with it. But more importantly than anything, I mean, he kind of keeps everything in order around here. I get a little crazy, trying to get my guys motivated on a daily basis. And he kind of has that calming effect to the guys when I may be, going a little bit crazy, trying to make sure that we're doing things the right way. He understands how to calm the guys down, talk to them, and calm me down some as well. But just a great young man who's, most coaches would be very, very pleased to coach Thaddeus. He has a great demeanor and he enjoys playing the game of football. And a lot of times you get kids that don't want to play in practice. He loves to practice. So when you get the right kids wanting to practice, it kind of elevates everybody around them.
Jomaul Mason joined us here on Texas Football Today. Coach, I want to ask you a little bit about the past, year and a half. Obviously, the pandemic has hit all of us really hard. Especially, you guys there in Houston ISD, it's been up and down, stop and go for you guys. You guys didn't open your season until September 9th this year. Last year is such a stilted season. How have you felt like your kids have responded, despite the fact that this has been such a strange couple of months, really year or so over the course of the last two seasons?
I think it started in the spring a few years ago, well, I guess a year and a half ago or so. And we just kind of stayed connected. So what we did was we made sure that we met with our kids twice a week, no matter what was going on, when we didn't even know if school was going to happen, just to stay connected. Then we got to the season, last year, and we were kind of stop and go throughout the summer. So we weren't able to do our normal thing. Well, coming into this year, we were able to go through our spring. We're also able to play 7-on-7 and have summer workouts. And all the preparation from the things that we normally do is what's showing at this point. So that's the growth that you see in Thaddeus Watson. That's the growth that you see in the defensive and offensive lines. That's the growth of our team and our program is built around hard work and consistency. And we were able to do those things throughout the spring and the summer. So it's starting to show.
And finally, Coach, it is on to the next one. I know that, and the next one is let's be honest, it's the big one. It's Houston Lamar. You guys will take them on this week, and look, I'm not going to ask you to give away your game plan, but this is the team that has dominated the district. They've got one district loss in I think the last 11 years. But you guys get an opportunity Saturday to take them on. I'm interested in what you think are going to be the keys for you guys to go out there and let's be honest, to at least put yourself in the driver's seat to win the district.
Yeah, well, approaching the week like any other week is the first step, and that's tough to do when it's a big game like this. And our kids came in and one of them said, it's Lamar week. And I said, do you think they're over there saying it's Westside week? So we're not going to come over here saying it's Lamar week. We're going to prepare like we always prepare. We're going to do the things that we do. We're going to chase consistency like we always do. And then we'll see what happens on Saturday. I know if we do our job of preparing, that we will be in the game for sure Saturday night.
He's Jomaul Mason. He's the head coach of the 4-1 Westside Wolves, and you can watch his Wolves play for a district title 6 o'clock Saturday at Del Mar Stadium when they take on Houston Lamar. Coach, really appreciate your time. Congratulations again on the big win this past week and the great start to the season, and best of luck Saturday night.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me.
There he goes, Jomaul Mason, head coach. Right. Houston Westside Wolves joined us here, Texas Football Today. I wanted to get him on. That is a perfect example of a game that I think is probably like not on people's radar and like a team that's not on people's radar, right? And it's because, look, it's 18-6A. 18-6A has long been dominated by Houston Lamar. Yep. And, Westside's got something cooking. And that win over Heights, remember, Heights won the district last year. Heights was the team that knocked off Lamar. Heights won the district. And that win over Heights last week really, really cocked my eyebrow. I was like, okay, something's special there. Something's going on there at Westside. Their one loss in the year is to Summer Creek. Pretty darn good Summer Creek team, I would say. Yeah. And they have been consistent. That's the thing I'm very interested in. And look, I think I can do it. I think I can beat Lamar. Yeah. I think they can. I think they got an opportunity to go out there and win a district championship. And look, hold on. I can look this up. I bet I can. Let's see if I can do this quickly. How quickly I could look up the last time they won an outright district championship. It has probably been the last time they won an outright district championship was 2009. Now, they've made the playoffs every year since 2011. They are a playoff team this year. But this is a huge game, I think, in kind of shaping what that district is going to look like. And I think one of those things that, Houston Lamar, their loss last year in district kind of maybe put a dent in the armor. Westside can signal that it's a new day there in Houston ISD if they can go out there and get that win. It's a huge game there at Del Mar Stadium Saturday night. I'm really excited. I'm going to be paying close attention to it. And so we appreciate Jomaul Mason, the head coach of Westside, joining us today. We are Texas Football Today. We're here every weekday at noon on TexasFootball.com, talking football in the Lone Star State. You can follow us on Twitter at DCTF, like us on Facebook, Facebook.com/Dave Campbell's. Follow us on Instagram, Instagram.com/Dave Campbell's, and of course, see us at TexasFootball.com. Pickle?
Yes.
How are you?
I'm doing well.
Oh, good.
I'm ready for some Player of the Week.
Oh, okay. Dave Campbell's Texas Football, in conjunction with the Texas Bowl, is proud to present the Mr. Texas Football Player of the Week award to the most deserving high schooler in the state of Texas. Every weekday at noon, or 12:34, Dave Campbell's Texas Football announces 10 candidates for that week's award based on the previous week's on-field performance. We then leave it up to you. Voting at TexasFootball.com, I believe, is open right now.
Yeah.
And you can tell us who you think should be the Mr. Texas Football Player of the Week. It all leads up to the Mr. Texas Football Player of the Year, decided at season's end. Your Week 8 Mr. Texas Football Player of the Week nominees: El Paso Eastlake running back Elijah Uribe carried the ball 45 times.
He is the playbook.
For 292 yards and 7 touchdowns rushing. He also had 4 catches for 55 yards and a touchdown through the air.
That's just the
Good job,
first
Elijah.
one. I was
Good
going
job,
to say.
Elijah Uribe. Good job. Good work.
It really
Way to
sets the
set
stage
tone.
when
Set
that's the
tone.
first one.
Killian Harker Heights running back Rashawn Sanford, 41 carries, 368 yards, and 3 touchdowns rushing, and he had a touchdown reception. Tidehaven linebacker Jose Martinez, 21 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, a forced fumble, 3 pick sixes,
Oh, my God.
and he had 23 yards rushing, too. Tidehaven linebacker Jose Martinez.
Light work.
The Colony running back Camden Wesley, 23 carries, 343 yards, and 6 touchdowns on the ground for the Colony. Fort Worth Wyatt quarterback Cade Barrett, 426 yards and 8 touchdowns passing, another 2 rushing touchdowns. We just mentioned him. Houston Westside athlete Dorian Washington, 7 catches, 156 yards, 3 touchdowns receiving, 2 tackles, an interception, and returned a fumble, 92 yards for a score.
That's a way to compete for a
Westside's-
district
In
championship.
Westside's big win over Heights. Del Rio quarterback Zach Taylor, 183 yards, 3 touchdowns passing, 14 carries, 289 yards, and 3 touchdowns rushing for Del Rio quarterback Zach Taylor. Denton Braswell wide receiver Jerian Wallace, 12 catches, 232 yards, and 4 touchdowns receiving. Stockdale running back and defensive back Cutter Clancy, 180 yards, 3 touchdowns rushing, 42 yards and a touchdown passing, and 11 tackles. Finally, Waco La Vega running back Bryson Rowland, 307 yards, 4 touchdowns rushing, and he had 67 yards receiving. Those are your Week 8 Mr. Texas Football Player of the Week nominees. Vote early, vote often, vote now. I'm glad it's not my turn to pick them at TexasFootball.com.
Now to Week 9.
Thank you. That's where it always
It always gets you.
always gets me. Let me pull this up so I can make sure I tell people what we're doing here. We're at Texas Football Today. You know that we do a show and people watch it, and sometimes we're on Facebook, but today we're not because Zuckerberg got.
Yeah, shout out to everyone who
Matriculated
didn't
them.
complain and just went to YouTube. I'm
It's not our
glad
fault.
that we
It's-
have.
hey, listen,
Yeah,
Trust me, I would much rather be on Facebook and YouTube.
Yeah.
We appreciate.
I
you
think
guys
that
making time.
everyone understands at this point that Zuck's just out to get us. So,
Pickle. Dave Campbell's Texas Football is ready to unveil its Week 9 statewide Texas high school football rankings for the 2021 season. The rankings are compiled by the Dave Campbell's Texas Football staff. DCTF has published the state's most respected Texas high school football rankings for decades and is the official rankings provider for the Associated Press since 2019. Weekly rankings are revealed live on Texas Football Today every Monday, and complete rankings can be found at texasfootball.com/rankings. Let's roll them out. The Week 9 Dave Campbell's Texas Football Associated Press rankings. We will start in Class 6A, where there's a little bit of movement thanks in large part to Allen's win over Denton Guyer. Their 38-31 win over Guyer nudges them up to number 10. Nudges Allen up to number 10. We drop Guyer from number 4 to number 11, right behind Allen. We're kind of in that weird situation where now we've got a who beat who and what can we do. That is kind of the only changes. As a result, Duncanville nudges up to number 4, Atascocita up to number 5, Rockwall Heath, Spring Westfield, etc., etc. The top 10, 25 largely unchanged with the exception of Allen moving up to number 10 and Denton Guyer dropping to number 11. Let's matriculate Pickle over to Class 5A. In the Class 5A ranks, let me make sure I pull this up. 5A Division 1 is entirely chalky. Top 10, 100% unchanged. 1 through 10. No, I lied. We do have a change. Frisco Lone Star jumps ahead of Longview with their 33-3 win over Frisco Wakeland. We've been very impressed with what Lone Star does. That, to me, puts them over the top at 6-1. That will move them up to number 7. Dropping Longview did nothing wrong. They beat Sherman 56-14, but strength of resume has now become so that Lone Star takes that number 7 spot. The rest of the top 10 unchanged. 5A Division 2, we do have a little bit of changes. Number 8, Wichita Falls Ryder drops out with their loss to Lubbock Cooper. Lubbock Cooper remains the same at number 5. Frisco jumps from number 9 to number 8 ahead of their big game against number 3 Lovejoy this week. Number 10 Alamo Heights remains the same, and into the rankings at number 9. How about those Montgomery Bears? 7-0.
Bears.
They beat A&M Consolidated 35-28. That earns them the number 9 spot in the Dave Campbell's Texas Football 5A Division 2 rankings. Let's go over to 4A now, Pickle. Or 4A Division 1, for once, decided to behave. Everyone was a winner or idle, unchanged. Top 5 remains the same. Austin LBJ, Stephenville, El Campo, Melissa, and Argyle round out the top 5. 5A Division 2, or 4A Division 2, the same. I'm proud of you guys.
Good job.
All unchanged. Everyone's a winner with the exception of Geronimo Navarro, who is idle. The top 5 remains unchanged. Carthage, Gilmore, Salina, West Orange Stark, and China Spring. Big game this week, China Spring and Salado.
Yeah.
Keep an eye on that one. Over to 3A, Pickle. 3A, we had a little bit of movement here. Okay, so Columbus beats Yoakum 35-28. Yoakum, I believe, was number 5 in the rankings. They drop out of the rankings. Columbus back into the rankings at number 10 by virtue of their big win. And now I believe they've still got a showdown with Hallettsville coming up.
That'll be a good
I believe. Lorena leapfrogged Tatum with their win over McGregor. They are up to number 8. Everyone kind of nudges up a spot. Mount Vernon up to number 5, West up to number 6, and Grandview up to number 7 in the 3A Division 1 rankings. 3A Division 2, we move Abernathy with their big win over number 10 Idalou up to number 6 from number 9. As a result, Newton and Wascom and Canadian all make way for them. They all end up dropping a spot because of that. Idalou drops out of the rankings, but the into the rankings at number 10, who'da thunk it? Lubbock Roosevelt. The Eagles are the new number 10 team in 3A Division 2 at 7-0, a romp over Reagan County. And guess who they get this week? Abernathy.
Fun.
Find out a lot. Congratulations to the Eagles for being ranked. First time probably in a while,
yeah.
To be honest. 2A Division 1 now. Unchanged. 1 through 10 completely unchanged. Top 5 remains the same. Refugio, Shiner, Timpson, Crawford, and Cisco. 2A Division 2, also entirely unchanged. Top 5. I'm sorry. That's not true. I lied. I
was there for it.
Munster beats Windthorst. As a result, that's number 3 over number 2. We just flipped them. Because I don't know about you, Albany may have something to say about that, and all 3 of those teams are in Region 2, so they'll all meet at one point. But the top Munster leapfrogs Windthorst to number 2. Windthorst drops to number 3. We keep Albany at number 4. Wellington rounds out the top 5 there. Over to the 6-man ranks. 1A Division 1. No changes here. Top 10 unchanged. Abbott was idle, but the top 5 remains unchanged. May, Sterling City, Jonesboro, Abbott, and Water Valley. 1A Division 2, also unchanged. Everyone's a winner, but a lot of 4 of the teams were idle. The top 5 remain unchanged. Motley County, Strawn, Richland Springs, Balmorhea, and Follett round out the top 5. Into the private school ranks where everyone is a winner. Top 5, all won. Austin Regents Parish, Dallas Parish Episcopal, Houston Second Baptist, Fort Worth Nolan, and Episcopal School of Dallas round out the top 5. And into the private school 6-man ranks.
How about them Flames?
Marble Falls Faith knocks off Austin Veritas 52-6. That jumps them up to number 2 in the rankings. We drop Bulverde, Bracken Christian down a spot to make way for them. Austin Veritas, by virtue of their first loss of the year, drops to number 4. And Texas School for the Deaf hangs on at number 5. Waco Live Oak, still unbeaten. Big win over previously unbeaten Plato Coram Deo. They are the number 1 team in the state. So those are your Week 9 Dave Campbell's Texas Football Associated Press rankings. You can find complete rankings at texasfootball.com/rankings.
I can tell you, the hype is real in Marble Falls, Texas about those Flames. I've been getting a lot of messages about that.
Number 2 in the state now.
Big time.
Number 2 in the state. Let's go over to Ashley Pickle for America's second favorite segment. Final thoughts.
couple of things here. One, let's go with, I saw some people in the comments today kind of putting in numbers of other players that they thought were worthy of making the Mr. Texas Football nominees. And so just want to remind everyone that Matt Stepp at Matt_Step817 on Twitter, he starts kind of collecting those during the weekend so that we can have them set by Mondays. So if you have a stat line after a Friday night, just go ahead and tweet at Stepp, and that's how we crowdsource and find all those numbers. So I wanted to remind people of that. Two, I don't know if you want to talk about it or not, but I guess it's probably worth mentioning a couple questions about Judson not having a head coach any longer.
Yeah, so Rodney Williams has been relieved of his duties, is the way that Judson ISD put it. Relieved of his duties. Of course, Judson's having a disappointing year. From what I understand, and I won't get into I haven't been able to confirm this personally, so I won't get into the details. But from what I understand, this is not just about on-field performance. I know the natives have kind of grown restless down there in Rocket Land. In-season firings are pretty rare. Yeah. And normally, I'm just saying this normally, this would signal that there is something else going on. I'm certainly not accusing anybody of any malfeasance, but I would say that generally speaking, in my experience, something else has to happen. It's not just performance on the field. So I don't know. We're working to confirm that. But that is obviously pretty shocking whenever you've got a blue blood program like that, a state champion program that is obviously having a difficult year. And now they are without a head coach. Rodney Williams is out. They have promoted an interim to finish out the season, but they are almost certainly going to miss the playoffs this year. So disappointing year for Judson, and Rodney Williams is out there at Judson. We will, of course, have complete coverage at TexasFootball.com. Anything else?
Nope, that'll be it.
It's going to do it for us. Thanks for spending a little bit of your day with us. Follow us on Twitter at DCTF. Like us on Facebook, Facebook.com/DaveCampbells. Follow us on Instagram, Instagram.com/DaveCampbells. And, of course, see us at TexasFootball.com. Thanks again to Houston Westside coach Jomaul Mason for being our guest. For Ashley Pickle, I'm Greg Tepper. Vince Young, please get your Player of the Year trophy. We'll see you tomorrow on Texas Football Today.